so that we can save this, and we'll rebroadcast this, and we'll send this out to everyone who wasn't able to make this. But thank you again for everyone who's tuning in. My name is Tom Dufour. I'm the CEO with Big Sky Franchise Team, and we've been doing this Navigating the Coronavirus Economy series for about 6 months now. It's hard to believe it's already been that long. And as we've been going through this, we've had all kinds of experts and people helping out. And now, as we're kind of all getting, I think at this juncture, at least familiar or comfortable with whatever world we're living in now and whatever situation we're living in and adjusting to and moving forward. And I think this is a very timely topic for us to be talking about. Real estate is always timely to be talking about, but I think as unfortunate, there are many businesses that will not survive and have not survived and have closed during this pandemic. But that also means it's an opportunity for others that are in the marketplace, for growing companies, for our clients that are franchising, or if you're tuning in thinking about franchising your business, this is a great topic for you to be aware of what's going on. So with that being said, I had the opportunity to meet Terri Brooks, who is a real estate expert. In fact, her name she goes by in her company is the Real Estate Matchmaker. And I just thought that was amazing because it's exactly what you do. You match real estate with the buyer. It's perfect. Such a great name, the Real Estate Matchmaker. So, when you're looking for a space, you think about dating your future property. Well, Terri's going to make it happen for you. So with that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Terri to share her wisdom, expertise, and knowledge with us about what's happening today. So Terri, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Tom. That was such a great introduction. And that's exactly right. When I was thinking of, how do we, want to brand it? How do we make it make sense, especially in commercial real estate? How do you help connect the dots for people? So you're absolutely right. You're dating and then you marry it, whether it's leasing or you're purchasing a property. So thank you so much for having me. And you're absolutely right. This is a changing world here in the commercial real estate. Every market is different, but one thing that has been consistent is small businesses continue to amaze me. Franchises continue to amaze me, the way that they're just powering through, still setting up shop. I mean, like everybody else, we saw a little bit of a downturn kind of towards that March, April, but as soon as Memorial Day rolled around, I mean, I'm busier than ever before, pre-pandemic. And a lot of folks who, were blessed enough like me to, hang in there in commercial real estate are saying the same things. Every office space is being reimagined. One of the things that my predictions, if I may, early on in the conversation, is that I think some of the malls that were kind of struggling, a great new use for them would be esports, right? Because esports
Smart. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's already a super big, it's $1 billion industry right now, and during the pandemic it's only picked up. We're human beings, so we're still going to want to gather and get together. And they already have the square footprint, to make that happen. You have your training centers. You can create maybe like a hotel space on one side, or maybe you turn some previous store space into like sleeper pods, right? Because these guys are going to be going around the clock, especially like during tournament time, particularly here in Atlanta or anywhere that has a major airport, right? Most malls are located near the major airports, near the major highways. So it's going to be really easy for people to get in and out. So that's just one of my predictions and hopes that we're going to see for, just repurposing, space, right? What do we do with 400,000 square feet?
Yeah. Well, look, you heard it here first from the mouth of Terri Brooks. Yes. And I love it. That is a brilliant idea. And you're so right. And the accommodations in and around a mall, especially a big mall, it's generally there, right? There are already restaurants, and oftentimes restaurants, hotels, a lot of the supporting stuff that will complement however they reconfigure the space for esports. And that could be a year-round business then. They could have people, I don't know much about esports, but I know that each game kind of has its own thing for different games and regions and so on. So that's a brilliant idea. I really like that a lot.
Yes. Let's make it happen, Tom.
So look, if you're in the esports business or thinking about doing something or in the malls, call Terri, right?
Yes.
She'll help you out here.
And Tom will get you franchised across the country.
That's
So
right.
that's right. And then another prediction that I see on the kind of like the other side of things is office space. Freestanding office space is ripe for salon suites, or not necessarily, almost like co-working spaces for non-beauty professionals, vanity type businesses, because now they're realizing, hey, I can do my business at home, but I still need a place for people to come and have some face-to-face interaction with me. But I don't need to do all of the overhead that I was doing before. And we're seeing that particularly in the beauty world, where stylists, hairstylists, barbers, nails, estheticians, massage therapists, things like that, they're realizing I can operate in 400 square feet. My customers are still going to come, and now maybe that offers them an opportunity to have multiple locations around the city, because what they've previously spent on one 3,000 square foot, they can have 2 or 3 400 square foot spaces. So we're seeing a lot of that, just people getting creative and still finding a way to serve their customer. If you're a restaurant, feed your customer. I am loving the ghost kitchen idea, where folks are just doing like 200 square feet, maybe a little cute table in the front, and just working with delivery service partners and looking, finding ways to add that to their business. So there's so many fun things going on right now, and certainly not everything is going to work for everyone, because for your certain demographics, they're still going to want to have, or need to have 10,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet for some of your big box stores. So that's not really going away. I just think it's just people are just getting creative.
I love it. Yeah. Well, look, I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to invite you on. You mentioned the word creative, and I think that's really, really important. And we saw this in the last recession in 08, 09, and really any time period of just shakeup, a crisis, a recession, just things get shaken up a little bit, and you have to be creative, and you have to think differently. You have to look at the same stuff and think differently. And, I'm always reminded of that movie Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks. And I love that one scene where the air filter or something goes wrong, and they're in the spaceship, and they have to figure out how to filter the air so they don't die in the spaceship. And they bring all the engineers a box of stuff that's on the spaceship and say, figure out how to configure an air filter with this stuff. And it's like, here we are. The real estate doesn't magically move or reproduce. We have the same stuff. It's still there. This doesn't magically appear or show up, but you've got to look at it in a different way. So I really like your perspective on how you're thinking about this, Terri.
Thank you so much. And I think that's a good segue to share my screen. I prepared a couple of slides because a part of how people are going to filter the air in real estate and learn how to survive is knowing how to select a good site going forward. What makes sense? How do you do it? Who should you work with? Those are some very big questions. So I'm just going to run through a couple slides here, and let me know once it starts. Let's see here. Can you guys see that okay?
We can, yes.
Okay. Is it full screen?
It sure is.
Perfect. Okay. So this real estate and site selection during COVID-19, a changing world. What is that? What does that mean? So
I'm hoping you're going to tell us, Terri.
I'm going to tell you. So a part of, and let me minimize this here, a part of being successful when you're selecting a property is having a good tenant rep or having a good buyer's rep if you are a purchaser. My team, the real estate matchmaker team, we focus on small assets. So tenants and landlords looking to lease and sell spaces under about 25,000 square feet. And in this area where you're serving the clients in this with that small that footprint right between startups and 25,000 square feet, it is crucial to have a representation, because there's so many things, there's so many ways that you can get in trouble, there's so many opportunities and monies that you can leave on the table. So it's important to have, because you need an advocate as a tenant, and landlords want to fill space faster. So when you're working with someone who is qualified and can help you navigate the ins and outs of your real estate transaction, it makes things go a lot faster, because you get to focus on what it is that you're good at, whether that's feeding your clients, doing hair, apparel, whatever it is that you're good at. You get to focus on that. We get to focus on the real estate and get you into successful spaces. And if you're not here in Atlanta, we are virtually everywhere, so we would be happy to help you. Another thing that's really important to keep in mind, and why it's important to have representation, is 60% of available commercial spaces are not available online. Like, can you believe that, Tom? In
That's a
this
lot.
day and age.
Yeah.
That is a
Yeah.
lot, because most of them, it may be for lease or for sale by owner. People are trying to, kind of do it themselves. A lot of them are only on very expensive databases that the average person, wouldn't pay for, wouldn't make sense for them to pay for, wouldn't have access to. We certainly do as commercial realtors. And then the other part of that is that 40% that is online are oftentimes only found on that shopping center's website, that developer's website. So you're really relying on a handful of properties that you can actually see, the layperson can actually see and have access to, which that doesn't really help you, because you want to explore all of the options. Not all properties are going to be a great fit for you. So again, stressing the importance of tenant representation or buyer representation here. So some of the things that set us apart, and anyone really who's doing tenant representation here in this market, you have to be an innovative negotiator. We're not really seeing, and I've talked to some of my peers across the country, a difference in price per square foot. We're not really seeing a break in the base rent, but what we are seeing are lots of concessions. So, landlords putting in COVID language. We've done deals as creative as, well, if the government says you're only able to operate at 35%, you only pay, 35% rent, and then it switches to percentage rent, where the additional percentage is made up out of your gross sales, right? And that's a number predetermined that you and your landlord agree to. Is like, hey, if I shut down and I'm limited capacity of operations, here's what I can give you from my gross sales, right? So it's putting in actual remedies into the lease. So you have to get really creative. Another thing, we're seeing a lot more tenant improvement allowance coming from the landlords, where they're really truly contributing to this space for great tenants who want to have 5-year leases, 10-year leases, things like that. And we're qualifying you. So before you even find a space, the real estate matchmaker team ensures that you have everything in place. We already have your financials, we have your business plan, we have anything else that would just kind of set you apart. Social media presence is really important. So as you're thinking about site selection and where you guys want to be, your social landlords are looking at that. They're looking at your Instagram to see what kind of following you have. So I always say post, right? Post your product, post your service, post your feedback you're getting from your clients, because that can help set you apart, someone you may be in competition with. So we're making sure that you're successful before we even start the negotiation process into whatever site you guys select. And then market knowledge. So we know what's happening, we know what's going on. We want to make sure that you're set not only for right now, but for 3 years down the line or 5 years down the line, that you know what's coming to your area and how you can ultimately be successful and make money, because that's what it's about. You want to make money. And then here's some of the target spaces that a lot of our clients are in: power centers, neighborhood centers, urban core centers, lifestyle centers. Those, Tom, are still very much booming. I mean, there's some spaces now here in the Atlanta market they're on the market less than 6 hours. Can you believe that?
That's incredible.
It's incredible, and especially in like your urban core centers. I mean, they go so fast because once you find a good center to be in or a good neighborhood to be in, people don't leave. So you have to have someone that's good on your team that can help you, say, hey, this just came this morning, and then this is just to kind of make it palatable, because people often ask, well, what goes into site selection? What does that look like? What's the flow? So this is the flow here. First, we qualify you. Then we come into some kind of agreement, or wherever you are, whomever you work with, you'll have some type of agreement with them. As a tenant, most places you don't pay your tenant representative. Who knew? A lot of people don't know that the landlord contributes to your rep's commission. So all you have to do is just let them advocate for you. You can, again, just focus on doing the business that you're good at and let them advocate for you. Then we do a property search, and I like to start wide because sometimes we have a vision on what something's gonna look like, but now we're in a changing world. So that's different now, so what we thought something could look like, or the type of space, sometimes I think I'm a little spatially challenged. So I'm like, when I first started, I was like, what does 1,000 square feet look like? Is Walmart 1,000 square feet?
Wow.
So you have to optimize your search, right? So certainly we're very good at that now, but you have to get really good at, but sometimes you want to start a little wide. I like to go maybe 10 or 20% either way, a little less, a little more than what the client is telling me, and that's as far as price, location, their demographics. And that's just because something might be the perfect fit that you didn't necessarily think would work out great for you. Like, who thought, former standalone office buildings would be great salon suite spaces, right? So just kind of breaking that vision, you have sometimes. Then the next thing we do is, throughout this, just customer relationships. Our relationships are super important. We want to make sure that our clients are happy and they feel secure in the process. They're up to speed on everything that's going on, because communication is vital for us, because sometimes you'll put an offer in and it doesn't work out, and so we like to communicate, hey, well, this is why it didn't go our way, this is what we have to do next time. Even some clients, we have to say, hey, you're not quite ready to start selecting sites. This is what we need to do to get you ready to the finish line. So we focus on picking a date from when we ask our clients, hey, when do you want your keys? So we pick a date and then we work backwards from there. So that way we can strategize with our clients to make sure that they have what they want to have when they want to have it. And then lastly, we go through a letter of intent in our due diligence period. So letter of intent is really just what it sounds like. You're letting the landlord know, hey, this is what we want to do in the space. This is how we're going to do it. This is who we're going to serve. These are our hours of operation. And you're doing your due diligence. So, looking under the hood, kicking the tires, all of that good stuff. And then my favorite part is lease execution. This is where we get married, Tom. So this is where we do the commission agreement, and this is, where the business marries the property, and you go off into the world. And I'm gonna pause for a second. Do we have any questions yet, Tom? Because we're coming to the end of the slideshow.
Let's see. Let's see if we have any I don't see any pop up in the chat box here. Anyone who's tuning in, if you would like to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself or just type it into the chat box here. Well, I would say this, Terri. I do have a question. You're based here in the Atlanta area, and maybe talk about how you work long distance or how you work in other parts of the country. As you know, we've spoken about this. Our clients are located everywhere. They're literally located all over the country. So what I'd like, maybe you could explain about how that process works and what someone could expect, knowing that, you know, most people in our system and we're connected to, the majority are not in Atlanta. So if you're not here, how can the matchmaker, the real estate matchmaker, Terri and her team help out?
Of course, that is a great question. So we work with franchisors and franchisees like this. So we would be your face. We manage the project for you, so that way you never have to deal with a third party. We find local talent. If it makes sense and when it makes sense, we will come out there and work one-on-one with the local talent wherever it is that you are. So we'd work with you. You communicate your needs and your wants for us to us, and then we work with that local realtor, whether if you're in Calabasas, if you're in Chicago or New York or Texas, wherever it is, wherever you are, we would find you a great space. So if you're saying, hey, I need 5,000 square feet in downtown Houston, we go to work. You tell us your budget when you're looking to have your space. We find the local talent in that area. We will manage the project from beginning to end. We pay that third party person through our commission, and you never have to worry about it. So you're still getting that same real estate matchmaker experience as if you were right here in Atlanta. Does that answer your question, Tom?
It sure does. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Yes, no problem. So this is the team here. It's myself, Basti Pichardo, and Savannah Ray. We are a bilingual Spanish-speaking commercial real estate team, and this is how you guys can get in touch with us. And I'm sure that they're going to give this presentation when we finish. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Anytime. I'm available by text or email, or come follow me on my Instagram. We have a lot of fun there too. I have a Tuesday shop talk show called Shop Talk. So if you are a franchisor and you're looking to kind of get the word out about your space and about what you do, have you. So be sure to email me about that too. It's 20-30 minutes at the most, where you just get to market your business and have a lot of fun and a lot of laughs with me.
I love it. I think that's great, Terri. Well, one of the things I guess is you're kind of bringing this to a close, and you've mentioned a little bit about this, but if someone is out there trying to figure this out, if someone doesn't happen to call Terri Brooks, the real estate matchmaker, and they're trying to kind of go about this. You mentioned a couple ideas about how things are getting creative, or people are getting creative. So what might be a suggestion or two you could offer to someone that they might be able to do as they're searching for a new space, or maybe they're in an existing lease that was written a few years ago and times have changed. You know, are you seeing anything out there for someone to be able to, in an existing lease, to be able to, I don't want to say get out of, but renegotiate or work with their landlord to try to make it more amenable to the current conditions?
Yes, for sure. So one thing I like in renewals, and we certainly do help people with renewals. One of the things I like when you are negotiating a renewal, and we saw a lot of that just in the Georgia area, this tri-state area, about 19,000 leases were coming up for renewal during the last 6 months. So there were a lot of people trying to figure out, how do I renegotiate my lease during a pandemic? I don't know what my business is going to do. So the first thing that you can do is make sure that if you are up to date with your payments, that certainly gives you a lot more leverage than if you are not, to go ahead and renegotiate your space. So as much as you can, even if you've made an arrangement to say, hey, I'm going to pay half rent for the next 3 months, be sure that you're paying those half rents on time, so that way your word is continuously credible. So that's the first thing. Pay as much as you can. Whatever payment plan arrangement you've made with your landlord, stick to it. The second piece is to show your landlord, if you're willing to open up your books, that's always a good way, is to open up your sales, to say, hey, this is the kind of business that we have. We're doing well. We have consistent customers. We've added value. We attract other great tenants. Most oftentimes it's a multi-tenant kind of strip center or building, things like that. So just remember to show your value. Say, this is how much we're doing, and this is the type of traffic that you're going to lose from the center, because no landlord wants a sleepy center. That doesn't do good for anybody's business or their pockets. And then the last piece is to remind them that, hey, yeah, we're coming up for a renewal. You want to continue to make money. We want to continue to be here. It's cheaper to keep her, as they say, because if the landlord wants to go ahead and let you leave, or if you decide you want to go find another space, the landlord now has to white box more oftentimes than not the space to get it ready for a new tenant, to make it attractive for a new tenant. That's $40,000-$50,000, depending on the space, could be more. And then they have to pay realtors, right? You have to pay a realtor to list the space. You have to pay a tenant rep to list the space. And depending on how much they're paying, it can go up to 10% of a gross lease, which is quite literally tens of thousands of dollars that they're going to spend just to get someone into this space. And we don't know how long that it's going to be vacant. So not only do they have to spend money to market the property and pay a representative, but they also have to pay the mortgage on that space while it sits vacant, because they didn't want to negotiate with you. So remind them that by keeping you in the space and making some concessions for you, it works out better for them also. So just, I think that's a great way to add tangible value, because sweat equity is very important too, but that bottom line is really important also. So I think once you combine, you remind them how much traffic you're bringing to the center, you're a good tenant, and it's going to save them money by keeping you in this space. That's proven to be a really successful strategy when you're going to renegotiate your lease.
Interesting. Well, and one thing that really stood out to me there that you mentioned was how you suggested opening your books to the landlord and showing them. And that to me does two things. Number one, it shows just an openness to the landlord of cooperation. And number two, if you're the tenant, it forces you to really make sure you're not exaggerating something that doesn't exist or that minimally exists. Maybe you've been impacted, but it may be financially it's not as severe as you are leading on to, and just kind of going along with the whole sky is falling pandemic thing to try to take advantage of that. So, I think that that's a really good, fair comparison as well, Terri, for people to come into this where, look, we have many clients in this climate that are thriving right now. It's beyond surviving. They are thriving, saying, oh my goodness, we need to be as many places as we can be right now. We need to be growing. We need to be expanding. So, I think that's a great little trick that benefits both the landlord and the tenant in that situation. So that's great advice. Thank you so much.
Of course. I hope it helps you guys.
Absolutely. Well, if there are any questions, please fill it in the chat box, unmute, say hello. Otherwise, we'll end this session here. And Terri, is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with? I know that we want to make sure they follow you on Instagram. Your Instagram is packed full of great stuff, and I just think you've just communicate in an entertaining way. It's just, you're fun to watch.
Thank
So
you.
and I mean that as a compliment. You're fun to watch what you're doing and see what you're doing. You just take a subject like, commercial real estate leasing and make it fun. So I appreciate that. So
Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's Terri, Terri_the real estate matchmaker on Instagram, and really on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm just Terri Brooks on LinkedIn. If you guys want to follow me, or if you have any follow-up questions, I love to help. So I'm, if you have my phone number is everywhere. So even if it's like a quick text, like, hey, saw you on Tom's show. I tried what you said with my landlord. He said this. Now what? Sometimes you start to do. You take that advice and you're like, oh, now what do I do? So I'd love to help you guys get situated. If you're thinking about relocating, if you're thinking about expanding. We are the real estate matchmaker team because we match businesses based on their clients, their budget, and their exit strategy. So we want to start with you. We want to grow with you. And that's why, we're the matchmakers.
Excellent. Well, there it is, folks. Terri Brooks, the real estate matchmaker for all of your commercial real estate needs. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your information. We'll make sure we repost this, get this live and broadcast it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate you having me on your beautiful platform.
Well, thank you. Have a great rest of the day and a great weekend, all.
Bye, guys.
Take care.